Users of Reddit, what's the worst April Fool's prank you've either done or had done to you? Some context. When I was in my late teens I was in and out of the doctors a lot for abnormal bone growth. So all of my friends knew I had something wrong with me, just not exactly what. I was pretty scrawny looking, so I didn't exactly radiate the image of ideal health either. I'm 16 male, in high school. It's April 1st and I have an anxiety attack during class. Teacher doesn't believe me, because it's April 1st. My anxiety only gets worse. Now I actually can't breathe. My chest hurts and I'm desperately trying to not cry in front of a full classroom. The teacher makes me explain what's wrong. I barely get out my chest hurts and my best friend stands up and starts explaining that I'm actually sick, and at some point I black out. I wake up 3 hours later in the hospital. Parents are there. They explain the anxiety attack. No big deal. I walk out into the little lobby area and all of my friends are there. All of them are ugly crying. They see me and mass hug me. I can barely understand them. I'm confused. My parents are confused. Finally one of my friends manages to stop long enough. I'm so sorry to hear you have cancer. I don't have cancer. My best friend. April Fool's guys. TLDR, while I was in the hospital, my best friend told everyone he knew I had bone cancer, as a fucking joke. Got called into work by my boss. I sarcastically laughed and said nice try, and hung up. Next day I got called into the office being asked why I had an attitude for no reason, when a simple sorry I can't come in was all she needed. Turned out she wasn't messing with me. My birthday is on April 2nd. When I was about 8 years old my dad told me on April Fool's Day that President Bush called and said there were no more birthdays, they were illegal. I believed the shit out of him and cried my eyes out. I still remember it very vividly. That is comparable to having God appear to an adult, and say we're out of happy, no more happy days for you. So mean. This was big news mistaken for a joke. I was born on April 1st. The birth was pretty hard on my mother and I. My mom had an estranged relationship with her mom, but thought she should know that she had a new grandchild. Despite everything, my mom gave her the news via phone call. My grandmother's response: "What the fuck? You called me for the first time in 2 years just to tell me a goddamn April Fool's joke? You're worthless." Then she hung up. My mother wept. My father called his mother-in-law and told her off, stating that she could visit me after I graduate high school. This tale actually has a happy ending. My grandmother actually drove 10 hours from her home to the hospital to apologize to my mother in person. She visited me too. From there, her relationship with my mom improved and they were on good terms when my grandmother died in 1996. In 5th grade I didn't have any friends, except my teacher, who was cool. On April Fool's Day a kid I really quite liked offered me one of his Oreos at lunch. I was thrilled, not because of the cookie, but because of the gesture of friendship. Yeah, he had replaced the Oreo's cream with toothpaste. When me and my younger brother were little, we wanted to prank our mom. My brother had a slight cold. We looked up the worst possible diagnosis with these symptoms and basically claimed the doctor said that's what he likely had. Even looked up on how this disease was reported and how it was generally handled. Told her on the phone while she was at work, thinking we were being so funny. The disease we came up with was tuberculosis. Suffice to say mom left work early that day. That wasn't very pleasant for everyone involved. I worked the night shift at the front desk of my dorm on March 31st one year. Me and the other kid working took a sweatshirt and sweatpants, filled it with pillows and blankets, and made it look like someone fell asleep doing homework at the table in the back room. Scared the hell out of our boss when she went to wake him up and the dummy fell to the ground and split in half. This one comes from my father when he was in university residence. This happened while the original series of Star Trek was being broadcast for the first time. One of the students on their floor loved the character Spock, who is a member of a species well known for not displaying emotion. Loved the character to such an extent that they emulated his mannerisms, such an extent that the most reaction one could get out of this person was fascinating. Upon returning from a lecture, this student found a simple note taped to his door. The note read: "There has been a transporter malfunction. The contents of this room have been teleported to the bathroom. The floors each had a communal bathroom." To confirm that this wasn't some low-effort prank, the student opened the door and, as promised, the entire contents of their room were gone. So they walked to the bathroom and found all their belongings, perfectly assembled in the same manner as they were normally placed in their room. The student stood there for a moment in silence, then uttered a single word: "Fascinating." After everyone else recovered from laughing, which I imagine took several minutes, they all pitched in to move the students' belongings back to their original place in their original room. One year I mixed green food coloring into the scrambled eggs and served up green eggs and ham. My girlfriend thought it was disgusting and wouldn't eat them. They tasted fine, honest. The next year one separated the yolks from the whites and only put the coloring in the whites. Green eggs with yellow yolks and ham. She wouldn't eat them. And, insisted that I was no longer allowed to make eggs on April 1st. On March 31st the next year, I very carefully used a hypodermic needle to inject green food coloring into the yolks of the eggs left in the container and put them back into the fridge. On the following morning I kissed her and rolled over while she went down to make breakfast. I think my parents, living a few towns away, heard her scream when she cracked green eggs into the frying pan. I miss her. She was a good girlfriend.